This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
You're listening to the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast. And now, here's your host, Lisa Rangel.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to the 24th episode of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast. I'm Lisa Rangel, host of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast and founder of Chameleon Resumes. We are an executive resume writing, LinkedIn profile development, and job search consultancy firm that helps executives and high potential leaders land their next position faster. And today's podcast show topic is crafting star and car stories to crush the interview. This will also help with performance review discussions. So we're going to discuss these two tactics that can prepare you for an interview that will make you so confident that you will become a job offer magnet. So are you ready? Excellent. Here goes. In the world of career development, the terms STAR and CAR get thrown around a lot. And you may have heard these acronyms in your job hunt, in your career development efforts. The acronym for STAR is Situation, Task, Action, Result, and the acronym for CAR stands for Challenge, Action, and Result. A little different, but there's also a lot in common. And both tactics strengthen your interview performance, and these types of stories also help with performance review discussions. You can get a prep sheet outlining these tactics and other interview tactics at interviewprepsheet.com. And after this episode, I suggest that you download our interview prep sheet for more help, and let's continue. Both methods can be used during behavioral interviews, meaning interviews that focus on how a candidate acted in certain employment situations in the past. The logic behind this comes down to a common recruiting phrase: the past predicts the future. And in other words, how you behaved in past jobs is very telling of how you'll behave in the job that you're interviewing for. That's the logic. Traditional job interview, employers ask straightforward questions with somewhat simple answers, such as, tell me about yourself, which is actually an interview topic that we'll address in the near future as well. So you want to be on the lookout for the straightforward questions. But in behavioral interview questions, they're specifically looking for the actions you've taken in the past for similar situations that may be replicated in that job that you're interviewing for. They want to know how you handle that problem at your old job, because that situation is most likely a situation you're going to encounter at this new job. They may start the question by saying, describe a situation when, and then you'll have to they'll be more specific about the type of situation they want you to describe. So STAR and CAR stories help you prepare, or having them ready will help you prepare for this kind of interview by forcing you to come up with stories that illustrate your behavior, the traits that you demonstrate. And you can use them also to write resume bullets in order to avoid any vanilla, generic job description type tasks on your resume, because you really want to focus in on the actions you took and the result. So let's talk about the STAR tactics: situation, task, action, and result. First, you're going to need to determine the situation and then the task at hand. With STAR, you can use either a situation, maybe like that you lost 3 employees and you needed to come up with a solution to not only fill the voids in your staff, but also maybe even restructuring it so it can be more efficient. A task may be that you were giving the responsibility of getting the company's e-commerce function online in a mobile-friendly platform. So the first example really could be a major problem that needed immediate attention, and the second example may not have required immediate attention, as in it wasn't an emergency, but it still is urgent. It has the potential to spiral into a massive profit opportunity or a massive profit dilemma if left unaddressed. So the second situation also leaves room to mention actions that you took based on what you were instructed to do and what you maybe even initiated versus always dealing with emergencies. So you want to show all different kinds of situations that aren't always you putting out a fire, but also where you took the initiative to grow something that nobody else had thought of. So then you must detail the action you took and also then detail the result that followed. It's best to define the result in a measurable way. Why was it better that you took the action you did? How was the situation improved? This is the mindset that you want to embody when you're answering the A and the R part of this tactic. You want to make sure you have the action and the results defined in specific, measurable manner. Next, let's talk about the CAR tactic, the challenge, the action, and the result. So similar to STAR, CAR will help you focus on a challenge you had while on the job. The only real difference is that STAR leaves some room for you to mention the situation that the action was a part of, but it didn't necessarily require immediate attention or wasn't something that was simply on your to-do list. Challenge has a little bit more of a dramatic feel to it. And the other hand, it typically is always a situation where catastrophe was looming or resistance was present or the logistics were challenging. So again, it's a better, more dramatic storyline to start with sometimes, but I say be prepared with both because I think having the situation and the task can also be helpful, and you don't need to always come across as being so dramatic. For instance, with CAR, with sometimes the challenge end of it, maybe products weren't getting delivered to relocations at the right time before a big launch, or maybe you needed to install a new database system and team members were all over the world with time difference barriers and different language barriers and cultural barriers that prevented or at least made it challenging to have a uniform system. These are challenges. These are genuine logistic issues. So these are the types of challenges you want to define. And once you get to the action part of this equation, you'll want to relay that you used a new methodology or you made adjustments or you came up with some out-of-the-box solution that never really had been done before within your company or even within the industry. And sometimes the plain old vanilla solutions work, but if nobody thought of them, they're still pretty special, pretty unique. So you want to define the action you took. And finally, then you must tell the interviewer what resulted from you saving the day. What was the result? Naturally, you'll want the results to be positive. Always use quantitative examples that can define your result. And this will really get their attention. Overall, there isn't a huge difference between these two types of interview styles. The acronyms have similarities, and you've probably heard of both of them many times throughout your career. You may be more comfortable with one over the other. I still say to embrace both. And this is the secret to a solid mindset to crush your next interview. When you speak in specifics about your situation, about the tasks that you did, about the challenges that surrounded that situation, about the actions you took and the results that followed, you're speaking confidently because you're speaking in facts. You're not speaking in superlatives. And speaking in specifics about each phase of the experience will make it real for the interviewer, and it allows them to more readily relate to you due to the detail that you're sharing. So you draw the person in with these stories. You draw them in this way. So next, go to interviewprepsheet.com. Download our prep sheet to be ready for the next session and follow up on today's session. We have additional interview tactics and strategies for you to nail the next interview or performance review that you have on that prep sheet. So again, go to interviewprepsheet.com, get the prep sheet. In the past episodes, we talked about the only way to truly protect yourself from job losses, to pretend you're fired today. Make a list of activities that you would do while you're working and do them now while you're still employed. Doing these proactive activities to keep yourself in demand when you don't need a job is the key element in this pretend you're fired today action list. Keep your network primed, stay active so you are in the forefront of your network's mind, and create demand for yourself consistently. You want to be in demand when you need it, so you need to build the demand before you need it. That's the key. And this way, if your job situation changes unexpectedly, you already have pent-up demand for what you do by doing these actions that I show you here today. And as we said in episode 1, the first thing on that Pretend You're Fired Today action list is dusting off that resume, getting it up to speed. We cover that in the first 8 episodes. We look at how to format the resume according to today's trends for maximum impact. We've spent the next 4 episodes focusing on your LinkedIn profile. And in the last few episodes, we covered topics such as the 5 most common career mistakes I see smart people make each and every day, how to work with recruiters, how to set up informational interviews, how to stay in demand with competitors, how to connect with your network when you really don't need them and you're happy. Most people wait until they need them and they're unhappy. So these are ways to do that in that episode. And we even spoke about how to have fun when you're not working. So you can have that list ready so you can stay in a prime positive mindset if this happens to you. You'll want to revisit those episodes as there's even more topics than I can even mention here. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for taking these steps to make yourself marketable when you don't need it yet. Most people wait, like I mentioned earlier. They wait for the unexpected to happen. They wait till they're completely miserable. then they start to learn this information. And it's doable, but it's just so much harder. So kudos to you for learning and doing this before you need it. My friend saved me with her priceless advice of pretend you're fired today, and I'm paying it forward with you. And I ask you to pay this sentiment forward with others. Share it with as many executives and rising professionals who you feel would benefit from this build it before you need it advice. And remember, for the next few episodes of the Pretend You're Fired Today podcast, we're going to continue to go through a list of tactics and activities to do now as if you were let go today. So this way you're always ready for whatever the world brings your way. First item on the list was your resume, which we cover in episodes 1 through 8. Second item on the list was updating your LinkedIn profile, which you can review in episodes 9 through 12. And over the last 12 episodes, we've covered topics such as 5 most common career mistakes and how to connect with your network. And today we spoke about how to create star and car stories to boost your interview performance, which is the way you crush an interview, make a great impression, and get the offer. Doing the preparation suggested in this episode will prepare you to interview confidently. And in the next episodes, we are going to continue to discuss how to build success stories. We're going to address how to have your elevator pitch, how to address the tell me about yourself question. We're going to start to tackle those specific questions in the next few episodes. Go to the interviewprepsheet.com, download our interview prep sheet to be ready for the next episode, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Be well.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.